Dear students, welcome to lecture number 5 of Public Sector Economics. This lecture is a continuation of the lecture number 4, in which we started the public expenditure. We discussed in detail the concept of public expenditure and causes of rise in public expenditure in lecture number 4. In today's lecture, we will discuss some more topics relevant to the public expenditure. These topics include Wagner's law, the government and healthcare, public provision of education, social security, and income support programs. And all these topics are relevant to the public expenditure. In this, the causes of increase in public expenditure have been discussed in lecture number 4. So let us continue our lecture number 4 and link it to lecture number 5. So in this lecture, our first topic is the Wagner's law, which shows the relationship between the economic development and the increase in the public expenditure. This law also discusses the causes of the increase in public expenditure. Dear students, as you know that according to Adam Smith, public sector provide goods which private sector cannot. There are many goods which public sector provide, but it is difficult for private sector to provide. For example, the defense. We know that national defense is a public good which is provided by public sector, and we discussed in the last lecture number 3 when we were discussing the public goods that defense is such a national defense is such a pure national good, pure public good which cannot be provided by private sector, because if the private sector provides the national defense, then it will be very difficult for the people to bear its cost, because everybody will have to pay to the private sector. That is the reason that according to the Adam Smith, public sector provides some goods which the private sector cannot. So government make huge investment for this purpose, which leads to shoot up the public expenditure. For example, the national defense, education, health, the environmental protection, all these public goods are provided by the public sector, and all these require huge investments. Different groups can pressurize for the public expenditure. There can be pressure from the different groups, social groups, political groups, religious groups, for various kinds of public expenditure. Different economists model the need for for and causes of rise in public expenditure. Adolf Wagner is one of them. He was a German economist. According to Wagner, there exists a functional relationship of cause and effect between increase in government expenditure and development of economy. As the economy develops, the activities and functions of state increase, which will increase the public expenditure. This is the main theme behind the Wagner law. Wagner says that when the economy develops, the functions and the activities of the state also increase. There is increase spread of the provision of the different facilities, different public goods, which lead to increase in the public expenditure. Therefore, the development of economy and the increase in the public expenditure are directly related. They increase in when one of these increases, the other also increases. Social activities of the state, administrative and protective actions, and welfare functions are some of the causes of upward trend in public expenditure. The activities which can increase the public expenditure can be given in the coming slides. So according to Wagner, there is a functional relationship of cause and effect between increase in the government expenditure and the development of economy. Among these factors, number one is the social progress. We know that as the economy develops, there is a social progress. In social progress, we increase the government increase the transfer payments. So the transfer payments is one of the important part of the public expenditure. Similarly, for increase in the social welfare, more pensions and unemployments will have to be paid, which will increase the public expenditure. Similarly, social services like education and health can also increase the public expenditure. We know that Pakistan spent 3.02% of its GDP on education in 1997, while it spent 2.4% of GDP on education in 2018 and 19. Similarly, in many countries of the world, there is a huge amounts of money is spent by the government on social progress, on the social services. The second cause of link of increase in the government expenditure and the factors determining it are increase in the per capita income. As the per capita income increases, this means increase in the GDP and the GNP of the state, of the country, which increase the government expenditure. The GNP of USA was 18,467 billion in 2016, which increased to 21,584.41 billion in 2019. Similarly, the per capita income of Pakistan was 82 US dollars in 1960, which increased to 1,472 US dollars in 2018. So this means that increase in the per capita income, which is due to increase in the GDP, can also cause the increase in the public expenditure. Here we can see the increase in the GDP per capita in United States of America. We see that the GDP in 2010 was 48,466.8, which increased to the 54,541.7, which shows a huge increase, a visible increase. Similarly, trends in GDP per capita, gross domestic product per capita, can be seen in this diagram. We see and that in 2010, the per capita GDP in Pakistan was 988 US dollars, which increased to 1158 USD in 2017. Another reason for increase in the government expenditure, as stated by Wagner, is a change in the population. When the population of a country increases, it automatically leads to increase in the public expenditure. We see that Pakistan is one of those countries having very huge birth rate. Pakistan's population is 2.81% of the world population, and according to the estimates, in 2019 the population growth rate was 2.04%, which is a very big, very high growth rate. The population density in Pakistan was 245.56 per square kilometer. We see that due to the increase in the population, one of the reason is along with the birth rate is the increase in the life expectancy as well, because the life expectancy which we see was 37 years only between 1950 and 1955, and we see a continuous rise in the life expectancy right to the 42, 47, 51, right back to 63 in 2000 to 2005, and we see by 2015 as 65.9, which is now, according to the last survey, 67.5 years, according to the economic survey, in the last year economic survey. So due to this, the population of high birth rate and the improved health facilities, reduced death rate, the population of Pakistan is increasing, which has increased the public expenditure, because huge population needs too much resources, health resources, the educational facilities, the health facilities, the social sector, other facilities provided through the social sector, and it becomes very difficult for government to provide to such a huge population, which adds to the public expenditure of the state. Similarly, we in the last few decades we have seen the use of the latest technology. We have experienced new vehicles. We have seen metros. Even in a country like Pakistan, we have metros started in Lahore, Multan, Islamabad, and now in Peshawar under the name of the BRT. There is Orange Stand in Lahore, we see. All these need a huge amount of money, which has increased the public expenditure. So due to the technical changes and introduction of new technology, the public expenditure also increases. Another important head of public expenditure, not only in Pakistan but in most of the states, is defense expenditure. Defense expenditure is not only a big part of the budget in developing countries, but also the developed countries. Here we see that US defense expenditure was 437.4 billion in 2003, which increased to 989 billion recently. In 2012, the defense expenditure of Pakistan was 507.159 billion rupees, which increased to 1289 billion in 2020-2021. The figures can be seen in the current year budget, and the old data regarding the defense expenditure can be seen in the economic survey of Pakistan, various issues. Dear students, I often recommend you to go through the economic surveys of Pakistan and to go through the current budget to know well about the state of economy of Pakistan. Similarly, I always recommend you to check the IMF statistics, to check the World Bank statistics in order to update yourself. A big increase, we see in both of these cases a big increase, we see from 5 to 12, about 700 billion increase in just 8 years in the budget of Pakistan. We spend round about 700 billion more on defense as compared to the same in 2012, which is a very big increase in the public expenditure. This means that the public defense expenditure is an important part, a big part of the public expenditure around the world in many nations of the world. We see here a military expenditure in Pakistan increased to 1,286 US million in 2018 to 461 USD million. We see this you see this increase in the 2010. It was 7,597 million US dollars, which increases. We see the trend. Look here. It increased to 12,686 million US dollars in 2018, and we discussed its amount in Pak rupees in the last slide. Similarly, some of the other reasons behind the increase in the public expenditure are inflationary pressure due to the high inflation in our country. I'm referring to the economy of Pakistan, that we have experienced very high inflation rate in the last 2 years, which has suffered the common people worstly. So due to high inflation, the public expenditure also increases because the provision of the public goods become costly for the government, which lead to increase in the public expenditure. Similarly, with inflation, in order to support the people in the inflationary pressure, the expenditure on the transfer payments also increases, which lead to increase in the public expenditure. Similarly, in the balanced economic and social development, in order to keep all areas of the country, or in case of the large countries like USA, like India, where there are many states, it becomes very difficult for the government to keep a balance in economic growth and social development in different states of the country. So the government needs money for the balanced economic growth and social development of all areas of the country. Similarly, in order to bring more area under cultivation, and in order to improve the existing agriculture sector, a country needs money, country needs public expenditure. So just if you take the example of Pakistan, agriculture is said to be the backbone of the economy of Pakistan, and it is the largest sector of the economy. So in order to develop this sector, Pakistan needs too much funds, and agriculture expenditure is also an important part of the budget of Pakistan. Another reason for the increase in the public expenditure is worsening conditions of the law and order in country, especially in the developing countries. If we look at the countries of the Asia, like Pakistan, like the Afghanistan and Bangladesh, and so many in these almost all developing countries, the law and order situation is not very well, and the government needs money in order to improve the law and order condition in these countries. So these were a few of the factors which cause increase in the public expenditure. The next topic which we are going to discuss is the government and healthcare, or public expenditure on healthcare, or the public provision of the healthcare facilities. For this, the expenditure on health, we go back to an example of the USA. On 30th March 1981, 2 months after entering into the office, President Ronald Reagan was shot by John Hinckley, who loved Judy Foster, an actress. Hinckley believed after killing Reagan, he will get attention from the actress. The President Reagan was rushed to the George Washington Hospital, where he underwent 3 years of surgery to remove a bullet that had entered his lung. That was a serious injury, when the Reagan was shot by John Hinckley. He was recovered by high-level treatment and worked his office for 8 years. The president who was shot by John Hinckley, who was admitted to George Washington Hospital, he recovered after a serious treatment, and after recovery he joined the office and he remained in his presidential office for 8 years. Now let it compare with another event 100 years back. 100 years earlier, before the 1981. This happened in 1981, but 100 years back, right in 1881, the President James Garfield was not so lucky. He too was shot 2 months after entering into office on July 2, 1881, almost 100 years earlier, by Charles, who thought God had ordered him to kill the President Garfield. He was brought back to the White House, where for 80 days, a dozen doctors attempted to find one bullet that had lodged itself near the Garfield's spine. It was the president was hit in the spine, and the doctors spent 80 days to search for that bullet. The doctors used fingers and metal rod to detect the bullet, but his liver was damaged. Then a doctor claimed that he detected the bullet through metal detector, but it was actually matter of bed. In this effort, he remained for 80 days in the hospital, but the efforts of the doctors were not successful because of the lack of the facilities, and the president lost his life. Between President Garfield's death and the President Reagan's election, the field of healthcare clearly made great strides, so that the doctors are now helping rather than harming the people. In case of the President Garfield, he was damaged, he was harmed by the doctors due to ill treatment. But in the 100 years till the Reagan's period, too much attention was given to the health in United States of America. At that time, Americans spent less on healthcare than on cars, fuel, and clothing. But by 2010, healthcare accounted for 17.74% of the GDP, which is a very big amount. By 2010, America spent 17.4% of the GDP on health, greater than spending on the housing and food. And what we spend, Pakistan spent less than 1% of their GDP on health. This growth is not expected to stop, and healthcare is forecast to consume 49% of US GDP by 2020. According to Gruber, 2016, the US is expected to spend 49% of its GDP on health by 2082. Despite the huge benefits reaped from the healthcare system worldwide, all it's not completed well. There are enormous disparities in medical outcomes across the countries and within some countries. The outcomes of the health are not same around the world. Here is a sketch of the healthcare spendings in the OECD countries. The Turkey less than 6%. On y-axis we can see the healthcare spending as a percentage of GDP, and on the x-axis we see different developed countries, starting from Turkey to United States, including the Mexico, Poland, Luxembourg, Czech Republic, Korea, Slovak Republic, Australia, Ireland, Japan, etc. And we see the different countries spends a different percentage of their GDP on health, right? Starting from less than about 5% to 17% by the United States of America. Distribution of net health expenditures 2003 of the USA, we see 5% was spent on nursing homes, 3% on home health care, 32% on hospital care, physician and clinical services 20%, other health spending 16%, other personal care 15%. It's interesting. US ranking in health system outcomes. In this slide, we discussed the spending of the different states or the different countries, developed countries, on healthcare system. This is an interesting diagram where we see the health system outcomes. Health spending per person. This is United States, Canada, United Kingdom, the Germany and the France. This is, we see the health spending per person. Look at the result. United States, the infant death rate is very high, despite huge spending on healthcare. We see if you look at the healthcare, it is spending very huge amount, which is more than almost all these countries. But looking at the outcomes, we see a very high infant mortality rate in the United States, followed by the Canada, by the United Kingdom, the Germany and the France. Potentially preventable death rate is also very high in the United States, where then followed by the United Kingdom. Went without healthcare in the past year because of cost. Still, besides so high expenditure on healthcare, we see that a very high percentage of the people, they went out without the health care. And we see in another comparison, waited for 6 or more days to see a doctor. We see in this the leading one is the Canada, followed by the USA. It means that in USA and Canada is spending a very huge amount on the healthcare system, but still the outcomes are not very encouraging. Coming to the healthcare system in Pakistan, the national health security is increasingly threatened in Pakistan due to population growth, rising urbanization, environmental pollution, change in the lifestyle of the people, among other factors. There are many factors for which are threat to our healthcare system. We have discussed in the previous slide that we have a very high population growth rate, and it has become very difficult for Pakistan to provide healthcare facilities for such a huge population. Similarly, the urbanization trend in Pakistan is becoming very sharp. We see that we are transforming very rapidly our green land to the urban areas. Similarly, environmental pollution is also a threat to our healthcare system. Good health contribute positively to economic and social development of a country, no doubt, but here are threats. Key issue that impact the health status of people can be addressed through a diverse policy tools. To secure best health outcomes, both short and long-term measures are needed. Good nutrition also has a direct impact on overall health and quality of life. The present government is committed to improving the healthcare facilities and provision of good nutrition for effectively utilizing the human potential of the country. We should spend much on the health because health is an important proxy for the human capital. If you have good human capital, then good health means healthy labor. Healthy labor means efficient labor. Efficient labor means more productivity. Here is a comparison of the health indicators in the region. Life expectancy among these a list of countries in 2016. In the list was led by China, where the life expectancy was 76, followed by Malaysia as 75. Here Thailand has higher life expectancy than the China, which then it is followed by the 75 of the Malaysia. We see Pakistan 66, which is in this list we see this is very lower one, very small figure in the region. In 2017, except India, which has all the countries have these list of countries have life expectancy above 70 years. Only India is touching the 70, but still Pakistan is lagging behind. Even in 2018, we see that the health we are not very good here. Infant mortality rate, alarming one. Here we see that the infant mortality rate is highest in the region, and it is almost double of the India's infant mortality rate. Though India has very huge population, but still we see very high infant mortality rate, which is a matter of concern. In 2017, we were able to reduce it good. In 2018, we further reduced it due to increased health facilities, which is also encouraging one. But still, we see that 57.2 per thousand live births is very high among the other countries of the region, and it is almost double of the India, more than double of the Bangladesh, and too much higher than Sri Lanka and Nepal, countries like Nepal and Bhutan. Maternal mortality rate, the mothers also die in huge number, but we see a figure here that we are not bad at this. In this case, Pakistan had maternal mortality rate 154 is compared to the 200 of the Bangladesh, 236 of Nepal, and 203 of Bhutan. And even we are better than the Indonesia, where the maternal mortality rate is 192. So we are good, better than few of the countries, but still we are behind the Sri Lanka, China, Malaysia, Thailand. Under 5 mortality rate, this is also very high in Pakistan 73. It was very high, highest among the region countries of the region in 2016, highest in the region 2017, and still highest in 2018. Population growth rate, look here, in 2016 it was highest in the region. In 2017 we we kept the same position, while in 2018 also we had the same position. The government is trying its best to improve the health indicators, but still we are too behind from the regional countries of our region. The next topic of this unit is public provision of education. Education plays a pivotal role in the creation of skills and human capital, which certainly lead to higher economic growth. Dear students, I have told you earlier too that education is also a very good proxy for widely used for the human capital. So improvement in education means improvement in the human capital. If we are able to, still Pakistan has not achieved, Pakistan still has not achieved the 100% literacy rate. This means that we are lagging behind in education as well, even in the region. If we improve our education system, if we achieve the universal primary education, if we achieve the 100% literacy rate, we will be able to increase the human capital. We will be able to accumulate human capital, which will lead to increase in the in the economic growth, and we will be able to achieve the sustained economic growth, which is a great desire of the economists in Pakistan. The development of human capital is critical for improving productivity through technological innovation. Education promotes a productive and informed workforce. If the workers are educated, definitely they will be efficient and productivity will increase. And education creates opportunities for socially and economically deprived sections of the society. We see that many sectors, many people belonging to the lower sector of the country of society, they get good positions after getting the education. Pakistan is ranked at 152 position out of 189 countries in the UNDP Human Development Index ranking, according to HDI report 2019. According to Human Development Report 2019, which is issued by UNDP, Pakistan is at 152 position out of 189 countries of the world, which is few years back we were at 144th position. Means that we lost 8 grades, 8 points in the last few years. Unfortunately, Pakistan needs attention in key education indicators such as literacy rate. We know that still we have only 70% of the literacy rate. We formal, yes. For the human, still we have less than 50% literacy rate. Gross enrollment ratio is also low in Pakistan, and expenditure on education in Pakistan is low as compared to the regional countries. The chart shows some regional education indicators, just like we showed in the last chart in case of the health. This is literacy rate as a percentage of the 15 years and older. In Iran, the literacy rate is 85%. In Sri Lanka, it is 91%, Maldives 98%, India 69%, Bhutan this, Pakistan 57% for both sexes, and about 70% for male and less than 50% for female. The aggregate is 57, which is very low, just after the Afghanistan in the region. Youth percentage 15 to 20 years. In Iran it is 97%. In Sri Lanka, it is 99%, but in our country, we see it 65%. And this is the data of the female. This is a population with some secondary education in percentage. This is girls enrollment ratio, pre-primary, primary, secondary, tertiary, and a primary school dropout rate. It is about 22% in Pakistan. The 22% of 22.7% of our children, they leave the education after completing, or they don't enter into the line of the secondary education. Government expenditure is a percentage of GDP. Pakistan, this is 2008, from 2013 to 2018, the average expenditure in percentage, as a percentage of GDP, was 2.8% in Pakistan as compared to 3.9% of Afghanistan. It is very strange that even Afghanistan spent 3.9% on education during the period of 2013 to 18, but Pakistan spent 2.8%. In Nepal, it is 5.1%. In Bhutan, it is 7.1%. In Maldives, it is 3.8%. 4.3%. Sorry. In India, it is 3.8%. Means that we are spending a smaller amount of money, a small percentage of money on education as compared to, we are just behind the Bangladesh. Bangladesh is behind us. Human Development Index, it is an old data. Now we are at 152. Yes, we are at 152, and the Iran we see at 65, Sri Lanka at 71, Maldives, means in the region we are just after Afghanistan. In the United States, education is the single largest item. It spent 28% of its budget to provide their citizens with this service. United States spent 28% of its budget on education. In fact, United States spend more money per people on education than nearly every other nation of the world. In the world, US is the country which spends highest amount of money per student in the world. Yet US students perform only average around the international average on test reading, math and science ability. Here is a comparison. The primary school expenditure in different countries of the world. This is a primary spending per student. The USA is a leading one, followed by Sweden, then UK, then Japan, then South Korea, then Israel, and the Czech Republic. At the same time, we see the 8th grade mathematics score. United States spend highest amount of money, but the score of the student in mathematics is almost equal to the Sweden, UK, and Sweden and UK. We see that South Korea spent less than the United States, but still the average mathematics score is higher in Japan, South Korea, and even in the Czech Republic than the USA. Means the outcomes in mathematics are not encouraging one. Why government should be involved in education? Education, why? It's a very good question, which is often asked, why government spends on education. Why government should be involved in education? So the reasons are productivity. The first potential externality from education is the productivity. Productivity is one of the important externalities of the education. If a higher level of education makes a person more productive worker, then society can benefit from education in terms of higher standard of living that comes with increased productivity. We know that the education means the human capital. By investment in education, we mean investment in human capital. And this investment has the other externalities, except also other externalities, not only the productivity. It has spillover effects. Citizenship. The government provides education because public education improves the quality of life. Education makes good citizens. Education makes citizens more informed and active voters, which will have positive benefits for both citizens through improving the quality of democratic process. Usually, the educated people are considered good citizens. Education may reduce crimes, an outcome that has positive benefits for other citizens by improving their safety and reducing the public cost of policing. Means that due to the education, it is expected that the crime will fall, and this is a positive externality. Because if the crime falls, then the other citizen will be safe, and they will not have to pay for it. And this safety will reduce the expenditure on the police and the public security. More generally, education may play a role in enabling immigrants who are some of the most productive members of society. These arguments are fairly compelling for public intervention in basic education, such as elementary education, but they provide less rationale for public finances of secondary and higher education. Credit market failure. Credit market failure is another reason for the public intervention in education. We can explain it with the help of a simple example. Another way to justify the government involvement is the failure of families to borrow to finance education. In epics, suppose that the government do not provide the education. Then, in the absence of government involvement, families would have to bear costs of education to buy their children's education from private schools. If the government doesn't provide education, then what the people will do, that they will admit their children in private schools, and their expenditure will rise. Suppose in the absence of public provision of education, a poor family has a talented child, and this child could earn a comfortable living as an adult if properly educated. We suppose that the government doesn't provide the education, and we suppose about a family which has a child who is very talented one, and this talented child can earn too much money if he is educated. But it would be socially optimal for a child to be educated, yet the family cannot afford the cost of education. It is socially optimal, but it is difficult for the family to finance him. The family will have to borrow to finance education. But banks and other lenders rarely give such loans because there is no source of surety. This child needs education. The family is interested in giving education to this child, but what the problem is financing. Suppose the family goes to the financial institution to borrow, but the banks and other financial institutions, they will refuse because there is no surety of its repayment. If the family takes a loan to finance a home, that is a purchase mortgage, the collateral is their house. The security is their house, the surety is their house. If they do not repay the loan, the bank can claim their house to offset its losses. But the bank cannot claim the family's child if they do not repay the loan. Banks may be unwilling to lend for education, and after all, despite the family's claims, the bank cannot really tell if the child is a good investment or not. This situation is educational credit market failure. Dear student, the banks will never give the loan because in case of the house mortgage or business, if the loan is not paid back, then the bank, the financial institution, can take that asset. But in case of a child, there is no such type of the asset, so the bank will never issue loan for it, which is credit market failure in education. Failure to maximize family utility. The reason governments may feel that loans are not satisfactory solution to credit market failures is that they are concerned that parents would still not choose appropriate levels of education for their children. In a world with well-functioning credit markets, private education would probably still involve some sacrifice on part of the parents paying the cost of schooling. We see in that the private education exists around the world, but the cost is borne by the parents. Even if the total family utility would rise with more highly educated child, some parents may not be willing to reduce their consumption to finance their children's education because they care more about their own consumption than children's future income. Children can be harmed by unwillingness of their parents to finance their education, and making loans available to parents cannot solve the problem. In this case, public provision of education is a better alternative. Otherwise, smart children would be penalized for having selfish parents. This is also an important argument in favor of the public provision of education, that if the loans are provided to the parents, they will prefer their own consumption rather than providing the money for their children's education. Redistribution. Similarly, a final justification for government enrollment is the redistribution. In a privately financed education model, in case of as education is a normal good, rich families would provide more education for their children than their poor families. If education is a normal good, people having more money will provide more education than the poor ones. Due to more education, children of high income parents would have the best opportunities. In summary, then there are various reasons for government involvement in education: potential productive spillovers, more informed and less criminally inclined citizens, failure in credit markets, failure of the family utility maximization, and redistribution. Effects of education on other outcomes. Major motivation for government intervention in education is externality generated by more education. In the recent years, a number of studies have assessed the impact of increased education on external benefits. Higher level of education are associated with increased likelihood of participation in political process and more awareness of currently policy debates. It is an outcome of many research conducted by many researchers like Milligan, Moriti, and Ossopoulos, and D. High levels of education are associated with a lower likelihood of criminal activity. It reduces the crimes. High levels of education are associated with the improved health of the people who received more education and their children. This is one of the positive externality of education, that the educated people have care more for the health of their children, and they have healthy families. High level of education of the parents are associated with the higher level of education of their children. Similarly, if the parents are highly educated, it will lead to the high education of their children. High level of education among workers are associated with higher rates of productivity of the co-workers. This is also a positive externality of education, that if the workers are highly educated, they will not only be highly productive, but it will also increase the productivity of their co-workers. These findings, along with other findings that more education result in higher wages, suggest that there are large private and public returns to increasing human capital through increasing years of education. Means increase in education leads to increase in the productivity. That is the reason that these states should invest in education. Dear students, we have another topic, social security and income support programs. So it's an assignment for you. Give reading to the following chapter as a self-study. Go to Gruber, Jonathan Gruber, book Public Finance and Public Policy. Read the chapter number 13 and take it as a self-study. The material used in this lecture has been taken mainly from the Gruber 2016 Economic Survey of Pakistan and some other articles you see in the reference list. For the details, you can visit to the websites, and you can give reading to these articles and books. Thank you very much.